I'm excited to show you Sumo Logic's new capability, Universal Connector. With the Universal Connector source, you can collect data from vendor APIs with a modular configuration. Before you start, I recommend gathering all of the requirements as listed here. It's good to have all these details ready and handy before adding the Universal Connector source. For this demo purpose, I will use an already created hosted collector here and show you the configuration steps for Okta integration.
So what does this look like? In the product, if you go to Configuration Collection, in any hosted collector type, click Add Source to access any of our cloud-to-cloud integrations. If you search for Universal, you'll see Universal Connector. And for the sake of time, I'm going to switch over to another tab where we have a pre-filled out Okta connector. I'm going to skip the top part because that's all pretty standard boilerplate. For Okta, the authentication is an API key, and you can see our configuration here for that API key. Next, for the request section, we're doing a GET request to this endpoint URL. We're not adding any additional headers, but we are adding 3 request parameters: since, until, and limit. Since and until are basically Okta's start and end timestamp. And you can see those are dynamically templated values. In our documentation, there's a section called Template Dynamic Values that goes over this in detail. For the next section, we have the tracking progression. We're using the time windowing. Look at our documentation for the details of what each of these values mean. And then the response log ingesting configuration, we are parsing JSON for the response. And here you're basically telling us where are the logs in the JSON response with JPath. And in each of the individual logs, you can give us additional details around where the timestamp is, as well as the format, so that we ensure that we do accurate time parsing. Pagination, Okta uses this RFC 8288 link headers standard. Basically, it provides a next link inside the HTTP headers, but we do provide an additional option, such as your standard limit offset form of pagination. Lastly is the HTTP client configuration. The important part to point out here is the rate limit. So for Okta, they don't allow you to make more than 20 requests every 1 minute. So you can fill that out here. So that's the source. I went and generated some logs in our Okta developer environment earlier today. So if you query back, you can see that our universal connector source ingested these various logs from my test. So that's the demo.
To learn more about Universal Connector source, you can refer to the documentation here. And that's all I wanted to cover today. Thank you for joining.